of this pullover could be knit back and forth in rows. But because of the striping pattern, we would have to cut the yarn at one end of the row and rejoin it at the other, making for a lot of ends to weave in. To avoid having to weave in a bunch of ends, we're going to steek it instead. To do that, the first thing you want to do is find the center of the steeked stitches. We have 7 steeked stitches, and the center of the stitch would be like 3.5 stitches. And you want to go in the center of a stitch rather than between 2 stitches. The easiest place to see that is when you have 2 different colors in the same row. You'll see here that we have our waist yarn going directly between the center of the stitch. Once you have your waist yarn in there, what you're going to do is take a crochet hook and a thinner weight contrasting color yarn. We're going to start at one end. You can start at either end, but we'll start up here and pull your crochet hook into the cast on or bind off edge, and then loop a slip stitch onto your crochet hook. And then draw that through the bind off or cast on edge. Loop over some yarn and then pull that through to make a chain. Once you have that created, then what you're going to do is go in between, we're going to pick up the two vertical bars to one side of the center marker yarn. So we'll go in there with the crochet hook. Wrap the yarn around and pull it through. Then we have 2 loops on our crochet hook. So we'll loop over some yarn again and draw through both of those to make a single crochet stitch. And then we'll keep doing that as we go down. 2 vertical bars, wrap over some yarn, pull it through, wrap over yarn again and pull it through 2 stitches. Do it one more time. So you'll do that all the way down. Cut the yarn and then do it all the way up the other side of your waist marker yarn. I've done the whole thing over here. You can see that the waist marker yarn is down the center of our contrasting color locking yarn, I guess you could call it. Once you're here, you have both sides secured. We can pull out the marker yarn. And then with your sharp pointy scissors, you're going to begin at one end. And be really careful not to cut the waist yarn. And then you're just going to start snipping. And you can see that the waist yarn is kind of locking it in place. And then once you snip the whole thing, you'll have you'll have your armhole or your neck edge. And then when you go to pick up the neck stitches or sew in your sleeves, you just fold it over and then pick up or